Good morning. Today's show actually was a topic that came across my desk before the Parkland shooting in Florida, before we learned that 17 innocent people lost their lives because of missed signals with a very disturbed ticking time bomb 18-year-old, 19-year-old young man who turned into a monster. And again, it should not have been news to his family. But again, they kind of hid, they denied it. Oh, he's just ADHD. He's upset because his girlfriend broke up with him. He's autistic. Well, first I have to say, you kids that marched on Washington and around the world this past Saturday, good for you. I watched a lot of it and it was amazing. You are all amazing. And I can't wait until you all vote along with us adults. Now you're adults, you're going to vote in November, and I can't wait to see all the changes you make. But today's topic is not about, well, it's a little bit about parents who try to think of their children as normal. Of course, no parent wants to hear the horrible news that their child will never be like other children for any reason. But when your child is diagnosed with a disorder in their brain, that their brain doesn't function the way normal people's brains function, that's devastating. It is devastating for a parent to hear that their child will never speak, will never be able to be out of a diaper. They will never be able to have self-control over their actions. And what is most important about some of these diagnoses is that your child will never be sorry for anything that they do. Even when they cause destruction, they cause injury to others, even death to small animals and other pets. That your child just doesn't care because their brain won't allow them. Now, look, I'm going to tell you a personal story in a minute. And I got a lot of backlash for what happened to me personally, dealing with an autistic child, okay? But I will say this, parents who make it your fault that their child caused damage in your home, or damage to your property, or damage to you, those parents are the problem. The parents I'm going to talk about today are parents who are desperately searching for help for their children. Children whom they fear. Children as young as 5 years old whom they fear. Now, I'm going to also say, it is not a child's fault that they are born with a brain disorder. It would be like blaming a child born with cancer, or getting cancer as a child, or getting sick as a child. It's not the child's fault. And it's not their parents' fault either. But how the parents deal with it and the obstacles that are put in their way when good parents want to get help for these children, well, that's the story of today's show. Now, several years ago, I was in the presence of an autistic child who had a meltdown in my home. This child broke a glass frame, shattering glass all over my carpet where my dog walks, kicked in my drywall, and it was horrifying to watch. But what was even more horrifying was her mother's reaction afterward, because I was upset. And I actually said, you know what? I don't want your child in my home anymore. And oh my God, I was the evil, most horrible person in the world. I'm like, well, no, wait a minute. First of all, your child isn't comfortable in my home. Okay? She's not comfortable here. We know this because she was there here before, and she always has a meltdown. This time, damage was done. I'm picking glass up out of my carpet so my dog doesn't cut herself on it. I think I have every right to tell you I'm really sorry, I love you, but I can't have your child in my home because I don't need to re-drywall my wall, and I don't need to be cleaning glass up off my floor and I have to protect my property and my dog and my family. But I was evil. This woman has never spoken to me again, and that's fine. But see, this is the problem, okay? Because I don't blame the child. She has no control over what she does. In fact, my first reaction was, oh my God, did she cut herself? Because, I mean, she slammed her fist into the glass. And she didn't cut herself, but the bottom line was she didn't care. And when I made that comment publicly and to others, I was vilified for it. But now we're 6 years up out here, and a wonderful woman has written a book called Mothers of Sparta, okay? And in it, she chronicles her life trying to get help for her severely disabled, brain damaged son. Now, he is autistic, but he's on the higher threshold of autism. He can talk, he can take care of himself, but he has no self-control. He is obsessed with sex, he's obsessed with pornography. He has no empathy and no sympathy for anyone around him. She one time said to her son, yeah, mommy doesn't feel good today, I have a headache, and he looked at her because he'd been getting some counseling. He says, well, I think I'm supposed to say I'm sorry, but actually, I wish I did, but I really don't care. I don't care if you have a headache. Doesn't matter to me. Imagine hearing your son tell you that. He can't hold a job. He's being evicted from his apartment. He is sexually inappropriate. She is terrified that he is going to hurt somebody. Okay? Physically harm someone. And guess what she was told? Well, when he actually does something, we will arrest him and put him in jail. That's the only help she has available to her. Her son actually harming someone who's innocent and getting arrested for it and going to jail. And her son is cognizant enough that he wants to get help. He just doesn't know how to get help. He says, Mom, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to do what I'm doing with the porn and doing all these things that are not appropriate, but I don't know how to fix it. And sadly, in her community, nobody else knows how to fix it either. This is terrifying. Another woman did an interview after reading Mothers of Sparta and said that her 5-year-old son, that the entire family is terrified of him. He has already killed a friend's hamster with his bare hands because he wanted the hamster dead, and he made it dead. And he was not sorry. He didn't care. And this mother came on television and said, when my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer, the doctor sat us down and said, this is what we're going to do. Your insurance is going to cover it. And her husband beat colon cancer. When her 5-year-old killed the neighbor's hamster just because and had no remorse. Yeah, I killed the hamster, big whoop. I wanted it dead. I liked killing it. There was no help. There was no plan. Insurance doesn't cover it, washes their hands of it. Do you know what this woman was told? Divorce your husband and you can go on Medicaid, and Medicaid will take care of it. Now, guess what Medicaid is, everybody? That's right. That's you and me and the taxpayers in this woman's community paying to get her 5-year-old care because her health insurance company refuses to do it. The insurance company they pay premiums to. So she's supposed to divorce the man she loves, happy marriage, in order to get her 5-year-old treatment for his brain disorder. And by the way, guess what this disorder is called? Conduct disorder. Now, I want you to be very clear on something because, again, I got a lot of flack for associating some of these behaviors with these uncontrolled children who are violent and act out in public and cause damage and disruption everywhere they go. I got in trouble for equating that with psychopathology, with a psychopath or a sociopath. Now, there was a doctor during this show I saw, and he came on and said when you are under the age of 18, they call it either severe autism spectrum or with conduct disorder. And what he said is we don't diagnose anyone under 18 as a sociopath or a psychopath. But basically that's what conduct disorder is. A sociopath is someone who has no empathy, no sympathy, no feelings for anybody around them. They do what they do because they want to and they don't care. And because their brain is so damaged, you can't discipline them because they don't get it. There's no way to discipline someone who can't talk, who barely understands what you're telling them, who just broke glass or kicked in a wall or knocked over a grocery store display. What do? You can't ground them. It's not like they're throwing a temper tantrum. And there is no help. One woman said that they have locks on all of their doors, indoor doors, their bedroom doors, to protect themselves from their 7-year-old son. His 14-year-old sister is terrified of her little brother. And nobody will help them either until he does something. He has to do something. So basically, he's got to stab his family in their sleep before they'll do something. It's very sad that there is no help for people like this, for parents who desperately want to help their children. But there's another part of this show, and this is the part that some of you might not like. Two of these mothers said that what they do to protect others from their children, and that is their main goal, is to make sure that their children don't harm anyone else or cause damage to anyone else's property. Line of sight. They must always watch their children. They always have to know where they are and what they're doing. Because if they lose sight of them, they're going to do something that causes harm to someone else, especially small animals. Some parents with children with these disorders feel that society needs to just get over it. One woman said she was in the grocery store and her son with this disorder started melting down. He was throwing his head on the floor. He was kicking over displays. And a woman looked at her and said, "You need to control your child." And this woman looked at her and said, "You have no idea what I go through." Like it's a patron's fault. Like I go to the grocery store, right, to buy groceries. I don't go to the grocery store to watch a 5-year-old kick over displays, bang his head against the floor, and his mother's just standing there. I'm sorry. Obviously, your child doesn't belong in the grocery store, and I know parents don't like to hear that their children don't belong anywhere. But at the end of the day, people like me, normal society, has the right to be able to go to a grocery store or a restaurant or a shopping mall and not have to watch a child, a small child or even a bigger child, kick in displays, knock over things, bang their head on the wall, pull their mother's hair, kick them in the face, slap them, and we're just supposed to stand there and go, "Oh, the poor kid, the poor mom." No. Because a lot of these parents know what sets these kids off. They know that some of these kids don't like crowds. They don't like bright lights. They don't like loud noises. And yet, because of their need to have some kind of normalcy with these children, they take them into situations which, through no fault of the child doesn't belong in. And I really praise these women that were on this talk show, because they don't expose their children to situations that are going to cause others angst or harm or horror. I mean, if you've ever seen a meltdown of a child with conduct disorder or autism, you will get it. You'll get it. Being in a car with a child as their mother is trying to drive the car and the child is kicking the seat. Kicking, 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 screaming, yelling the entire time. I don't know how you drive a car like that. But unfortunately, a mother with a child with this disorder has to learn to. They have to learn, and God bless them all. God bless them all. But when I'm honest and I say, I'm sorry, I can't be around this, and then I'm the bad guy, well, I'm sorry. And I am also sorry, and that's what the show topic is really about, is that there is no help for these parents. These parents, some of them have other children, kids who want to live a normal life. They don't want to have to be afraid of their little crazy brother that runs around the house and you can't have a knife around him, or he's going to set the house on fire while you're sleeping. Imagine being 14 years old and having to lock your bedroom door for fear that your 5-year-old brother is going to come in and do something bad to you. Not being able to have a pet because your 5-year-old brother will kill it. Because that's what he does. Imagine having your 18-year-old son say to you, Mom, I want to be sorry that you have a headache, but I'm just not. And I don't know why. I want help, and not having any help available. Now look, these children do not belong in public schools. They don't belong in public places where they can harm people. But it's not their fault. They do deserve help. They deserve a happy, safe, comfortable environment to live in. And that's what amazes me. They're not available. And I know this because, again, from personal experience, we tried to find temporary housing for a severely disabled child. And because she wasn't 18, nobody would take her. It was only temporary because her mother was sick and in the hospital, and nobody would take her. And of course, most family members weren't able to handle her. So this is a problem. These children belong in a safe environment with professional care 24/7. And believe me, none of these parents that were on this show, the woman who wrote the book, Mothers of Sparta, she does not want to warehouse her child. She doesn't want to throw him in an institution and forget about him. They simply want their lives back, especially if they have other children in the house. They want to be able to know that their child, who is severely disabled through no fault of anybody's, just through bad luck, that they are safe, that they're being cared for. And sure, they're going to visit them. They're going to go spend holidays with them and bring them birthday cakes and do all that. But they can't handle this responsibility alone. And yet they are being forced to. Once again, because mental illness is not a priority with health insurance companies and society in general. And I want to leave you with what this woman was told. Her child is obsessed with sex, obsessed with pornography, stares at women and little girls. He even tells her he's going to do something bad, and he doesn't know how to stop it. And yet, when she says that, they say, well, when he does something, then we'll arrest him and put him in jail. Really? Is that where he belongs? In jail? No. He belongs in a safe place with trained professionals who can help him lead as much of a normal life as he possibly can. And when you have this attitude that we're going to wait until they do something, well, let's remember what the killer in Parkland did. He didn't even have a parking ticket. But they were waiting. They knew he had a problem. They knew he wasn't right. And when he finally did do something, he did it huge. He killed 17 innocent people. Many of them children younger than he was. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and some very brave hero teachers, all dead because they have to wait till they do something to get them help or to arrest them or to just shoot them dead as they're trying to kill more people. That's very sad that this is our society and how we deal with mental illness. It's very sad that any community has to deal with children like this in public places because no one will help these parents who are crying out for help. They can't do it by themselves. And it isn't fair that they should, because if their child had cancer, they wouldn't be alone. If their child had diabetes, they wouldn't be alone. But when their child's brain doesn't fire right, nobody wants to help them. They're all by themselves. Even their health insurance companies kick them to the curb. And the only thing that's left is waiting for that bomb as it ticks to go off and getting the call that your child's in jail. And then wondering, oh my God, how many innocent people have paid the price for the lack of any help out there. Do with it what you will, you always do. Looking forward to your comments. For now, Political Paula is out.